Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dragon Top.
Yep.
I'm sending a electronic Twitter against the waves. But I am Greg Tito. Hello. Against the waves. That doesn't even make any sense. We have, who's my co-host today? What's her name?
The decline was swift.
We went right down into it. I thought I was multitasking like a champ, and then all of a sudden it was time to talk, and I was like...
That's what we call coming in hot.
Where I'm just like, hey...
it's Dragon Top.
We're changing the name of the podcast. It's Dragon Top from now on.
My name is Shelly.
Hi, Shelly.
How you doing?
We have two amazing people.
You can see them too.
Yes, they're real.
Oh, yay.
here.
Thank God.
We have a friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
We'd like to say that over and over again. Mr. Wolfgang Bauer.
Yay, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Literally do have to put the microphone in your
All
mouth.
right,
It's
I
the
will
only
talk
way.
right to the mic.
Like 3 inches. And you can move this around. This is really cool.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
Ryan likes when you move it around.
Yes. He's like, that's what they're for.
He does.
Really?
We
No,
ordered them
seriously,
specifically.
Right, tell him. You have the freedom
He's not
to do
mic'd.
it.
He can't tell us.
And then also joining us is Megan Moracle. Hello.
Yay.
Megan.
Good to see you
Also
again.
becoming a friend of the show.
Yes, I guess.
On
that-
her
is
way.
that-
She is on her way.
That's how we make friends in this day and age. We're like, now you're a friend.
Do you want to be on my show?
I friended you on this show.
Yay.
That's not how this works.
Of course, you guys are working on stuff from Kobold Press.
Yes, we are.
I think that's what you wanted to talk about, right? Or do you just want to...
We can talk about other stuff.
So let's just jump right into politics. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, God, no.
Let's open with that.
There's monsters.
Yes.
And they have... I'm still talking about politics.
Oh.
No. But yeah, what's been going on for you guys?
We sort of talked about it last time when we were here. We said that we were kickstarting this big monster book called the Creature Codex.
Yes.
Now it's done.
But that wasn't that long ago.
It was actually the
Was it?
shortest turn we've ever done on a 424-page book.
It
Whoa.
felt
That
like
was like December or something, right? And now here it is September, and boom, there's a book. We worked for a year in advance before we launched it, and
They're just ready to go.
so we were ready to
and
go
it
faster.
shows.
Oh my goodness! Well, that's all Megan's genius.
Well, you
work.
know, I'm looking.
That's
I like
not
to read
me.
credits.
Oh, and the artists. Yeah,
And
you want to read the credits?
I do
There's a
like to
lot
read
of
the
them.
credits.
let's do a dramatic
I'm going to
reading
read-
of all of
I'm
them.
going to read the name of all your playtesters very slowly.
There's hundreds of
Right
them.
now. No, lead editor and developer. There's only one name there,
Uh-huh.
and that's Megan's name.
Okay.
And it's a
Yeah.
400-page book,
Yeah.
and you're smiling. What?
Yeah.
How?
Wolfgang said edit, and I said yes.
What does the developer part mean?
Oh, okay. So, well, especially because for, I guess, anybody that doesn't know, in our Kickstarter, we allowed the backers to submit monsters to us.
Cool.
So you can imagine we got a lot of random things. So we only had space for 46 of those monsters. And we had, almost 500 people
We had
submit?
about 500 submissions, so we took the top 10%. It was
Right.
all good.
Yes. Yeah, there were a lot of really good submissions, so it was really, really hard to narrow it down. But part of the development in that is that I couldn't really go back and forth with those backers,
Yeah.
right? So if any of the monsters need tweaking, I had to do that, or I had to get one of the other developers or designers to do that. So that's part of the developmental process, is just making sure to go back and be like, hey, here's an issue I see with the creature, going back to the designer and saying, hey, can you rework it? But in the case of the backers, couldn't do that, so then I had to rework it. And then we went through with playtesting and things like that. And then with the playtesters, some of them would bring feedback to us and say, hey, we see a problem with the creature. And then we would go through and make those changes. And I did a lot of those changes.
So when you say you couldn't go back to the backer just because of how much time it would take to go back and forth with 46
Correct, yeah.
people?
Right. And we had, I think, 10 of those people, or
Oh,
10 additionals
We had
were
10
commissioned.
commissions as well. So Sean Merwin, who does a little bit of work in the D&D sphere,
Quite a bit.
we had 10 people say, well, I just want you to take my idea and have somebody like who can write and be a game designer do it. And so those 10 were Sean's creations then based on these seeds we got.
Oh, that's cool.
And obviously those were, there were some wild ideas and some of my favorite monsters, but also some where we're like, that's a really hard one, Sean.
Here's one. For
You go ahead. Make it
fix
pretty.
it. Yeah.
What were some of those? Do you remember what those?
Well, the
those
dream
weird ideas-
monster is the classic example of everybody thinks it's cool. It's hard to make it work. So the dream wraith in the book.
Now I'm
is-
gonna-
we gotta
go
look
to
at it,
your.
we gotta look at it.
Now you got to check it out.
Yeah,
but it's one of those where
There it. Page
you know, it
135.
can split the party, and it only attacks one person at a time, and it's sort of this separate track, and it's not a standard combat, and and I think it worked out really well.
Yeah.
And the creepy art.
I know, right?
Yeah.
As someone who hated Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street for the reason of like, oh, I don't want to go to sleep anymore, so
Right.
I'm going to be a kid and stay up all the time.
Yeah.
This is
The
especially
Dream Squires doesn't
And
look
in that vein.
fun either.
Yeah, the Dream Squire is horrible in a different way. Some of the others, I think he did the Undead Phoenix.
Yes,
That was
the
one
Undead
of Sean.
Phoenix. The Zen Absorber, one of my personal favorites.
Oh yeah, that one was hard too, because
That
like
was really
a monster that absorbs the powers of other monsters.
Right.
That seems easy to design. Sean.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, really, we pitched him some tough,
Oh yeah.
or the people who commissioned him.
Yeah,
pitched
and then
some
we had, I think there was one of them was the Arc Mag, which was like the little tick that absorbs magic damage, or like it sits on a spellcaster and like eats your magic as you're casting spells.
rude.
That's
Yeah, I know.
horrible
And
for
then
a
what does it
sorceress.
do with it? Use it
Um,
against you?
Well, it kind of eats it, and then like every time it eats magic from you, you take damage.
There's
but
probably
you
little
gotta get-
pellets that come
you
out
get
the other end, but we don't talk about
I was just
that.
going to say, does it excrete magic as well?
Compost
We
magic?
don't get that granular with these.
Ew.
Oh, it's good
Yeah.
for the environment.
Yes, recycle your mana, people.
This is crazy.
We also did a lot of shadow monsters, although I don't know if those... We did like certain categories this time that we didn't do last time. Last time it was all about the Fae, for instance, and constructs. And this time we did... Where did we go overboard? Oh, and last time we did water monsters to an excessive degree.
Was that like by choice or just because so many
It just sort of-
submissions has happened to be?
Sometimes there's something in the atmosphere where like
Yeah.
designers all want to go one way.
Yeah.
It's like there being multiple meteorite hitting the Earth movies at the same time.
And
It's
this-
just something in the air.
Everyone said, let's do golems. Yeah, let's do
I know.
that.
I was just on the golem page and I was like, okay, there's
like
a
10 of
hair
them.
golem.
Mhm.
That's pretty creepy.
Cool.
Yes, hair, blood, glass,
Gross.
The flying polyp.
lesser golem,
Oh, for
flying
the
polyp.
love of God.
You can blame Lovecraft for that one.
Yeah, that's creep. That's creepy.
Well, if
Yeah.
you want the pretty pictures, go for the drakes.
The drakes
Ooh.
are beautiful.
Drakes and the
Love
dragons.
surfers.
are
I mean,
crazy.
I think my girl would love this foxen.
Yeah, the
as well.
foxen and the kitsune are both sort of furry, charming,
Yeah,
take your face off.
they would love
But
that.
Paper golem.
I don't know which way
The
Weird.
drake-
I have notes and pages.
Drake
you
goes
do?
under D,
Oh,
so go
okay.
back
And the drakes are around
How do
130.
can you
130.
the Dewey Decimal System?
What is these numbers?
You know, it's funny you mention
Do you
that because
notice the
actually in the back
pattern?
of the book we've got an index that's got all of
Oh,
the
yeah.
creatures by
yes.
type and by CR and by
You guys have
terrain.
a like an intuitive index?
We did a much bigger indexing job than last time. We did them by CR, by terrain,
Smart.
by
by type.
type.
Because there's a lot of monsters in here.
Yes.
There are.
How many? do you think?
It's not quite 400 because we did a bunch of 2-page spreads.
Ah.
So we're slightly shy of 400, which is the number we hit last time. It was like 402, and now we're at like 395 or something.
That's still pretty good, though.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
there's
say-
probably some wiggle room there.
Leslie, we made some room for all those indexes.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you
Who
can say
came up with
almost
a-
400.
Yes.
Who
That's
came
good.
up with a paper golem
I think that was a backer submission actually.
Back or something?
I
Yeah,
think
I
that
think
was
that's
a
right.
backer.
of paper?
Yes. Like your spell book comes to life and eats you.
Oh my God!
Actually, I think we have like 3 or 4 different monsters that are all about wizards being paranoid about losing their spell books.
I keep seeing like a paranoid spellcaster.
Right.
You guys
So
have
there's
against
the
spellcasters.
there's the paper golem. We've got the inkling.
The bookkeeper was a backer
Yeah, the
submission.
bookkeeper was another one, and then I think Ink Guardian or something like
Oh.
that.
Yeah.
This is a scary looking.
The Grindy look.
Can we
yeah,
show
that's
this
sort of a
guy?
Harry Potter. Well, okay, it predates Harry, but
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a really
the Grindy
old
love's
one.
an old Scottish
Yes.
myth, but
Oh, look at his little
the
weird
art
face.
is just hideous and nasty.
Shelly's available to do voices for your Creature
voice-
Codex companion sound packs that you'll be coming out
Excellent.
with.
Sound packs coming soon.
Don't like it. Did you get any submissions from kids?
I don't think anybody gave us their ages.
We didn't ask for
I just feel
ages,
like that would be
but
really
the thing is, everybody who submitted the backer monsters, they all had credit cards, so we assumed
Oh.
a certain level of.
Legally, they had to be at least 18 years old just
Yeah.
to do that, or they
We
got
did
their
contracts with them.
Yeah,
They got paid for their submissions
Oh,
that is very cool.
because
They-
they should be.
They paid
It was weird.
you, and then
Well,
you
here's
paid
the
them.
thing. It's too late now, but at the time, you could put $1 into the kitty, and that would let you submit a monster, right?
Ah.
So I was like, we're going to get like 500 people who pledge $1 to the Kickstarter, and then there's going to be 500 submissions from people who are otherwise uninvested. And no, it was like 50 or 60 people took us up on the $1 offer. Most people were like, no, my monster's clearly getting in, so I'm just going to pre-purchase the book now.
Oh.
Like, we
That
had
makes
to
sense.
Yep.
disappoint some of you.
Well,
Very cool. So now these are all being shipped out now. Is that?
They are shipped out now. They've already gone out to the Kickstarter backers
Mhm.
and the pre-orders, and they're available in the Kobold Press store online. And they will be in your local game store this September if they're not there already. So by the end of the month, you should absolutely be seeing this. There's a set of pawns that goes with them.
yeah, the pawns are cool.
The pawns are cool. So, like, here's the thing. Most of these monsters are stuff that D&D players don't already know, right? Like, they haven't been in prior editions. You haven't seen these guys. So where do you get the minis, right? If
Yeah.
you love to play with a whole lot of them on your tabletop, you have to fake it with the mini. I hate that. So we did 300 pawns as cardboard cutouts on really heavy stock, and you put them down on the map, and there it is, the full color art, front and back.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, it is kind of a neat idea to make it more playable right away. Plus, we did, a bunch of NPCs and
Yeah, I like
cultists
that
and all that void magic. What was it about void magic, Megan? Why did we have?
I just edit this stuff. The designer's like, I want this really dark thing, and he's got like an event horizon in his chest, and I'm like, all right, sure. You misspelled something. There you go. All right.
But he's got an
Playtester
event
say that-
horizon in his chest. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah,
think
that's
about-
the Void Rack Mage. that she's
Yes,
looking
the
at.
Void Rack Mage again. Blame it on the spellcaster.
Uh-huh.
Oh, a Void Rack Mage is a spellcaster whose reckless experimentation has accidentally fused it.
That's
With
core
a
D&D
portal.
right there. Reckless experimentation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, owlbear. Hello. Hello, every...
That was an excellent experiment.
Every mad mage gone wrong. Yes, exactly.
Come on.
It's a big part. It's a big part of
Well,
it. You got to use that power responsibly, Shelley.
I know.
Wield
Or
it.
irresponsibly and become a void rack mage.
I don't want to.
Irresponsible.
I wouldn't be the type of magic user that would dabble in this sort of magic if I knew it often leads to unexpected and horrific results. That's all I
You
would
wouldn't
need to
dabble.
hear.
You'd go whole
Step
hog.
away. Step away. Yeah, right.
Why dabble?
Why dabble?
Lean into this.
I'm going all in.
I want delicious magic.
Is
Whoa.
the Wendigo? No, the spawn of Chernobog.
That's not what I expected.
Oh yeah.
Let's show him too.
Oh yeah. So if you've
He's
watched
a bear with antlers.
American Gods, right? Like Chernobog is all over that. The dark Russian god of night and murder. Really a cheerful figure to begin
Yep,
with.
totally.
Just like all that, those American gods, they're really just
They are.
pleasant.
Yeah, well,
Well, I guess there's one that was pleasant.
Chernobog likes to drink vodka and behead people, right? I mean, that's his thing.
That's folklore.
And his spawn are bears with glowing eyes and antlers.
and
so
antlers. What's better than a two-headed cobra?
a three-headed.
That's right. You have a three-headed cobra.
You know, we did a bunch of animal lords, and then we said, we need to give the animal lords cool monster minions, like
Ugh.
three-headed cobras.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
The Queen of Serpents has her three-headed cobra bodyguards.
Cool.
Like you do. Yeah.
I feel like they're kind of like an a cappella group. That's what I see when I look at them.
That's where the snapping comes in.
Always we hit the musical number with the animal
Always.
lords.
There's always a little theater involved.
Well, you might remember them. They were big in the Planescape era, right? Animal Lords, 2E, D&D. There was like the Cat Lord, and I forget how many there were. The Cat Lord is the one that sticks in my brain.
You just like cats. That's fine.
I'm a dog person, I swear to you.
No.
No?
No, I don't think that's
Oh,
true.
come on. There's a monster called the Monkey King in here.
Oh, there is really.
what?
Yeah.
It's about time.
Is it a picture of you?
It should be.
How has there not been one
It-
before?
it's under
I don't know.
S for
It's
Simi.
under
Thank
S.
you. I
He's
was
not
just
an
doing-
animal lord. He's under S.
He's under S. I was gonna point out that Ouroboros, which is great to have an actual
Yeah.
monstrous version of that.
Well, and he's fun too because he has this flip where he flips back and forth between like an evil thing and a good aligned thing. You know, it's the life giving and life taking. It's really
Yeah,
Really
just
neat
like
little
all
switch.
fate,
Yep.
really.
You give it, then
Yeah.
you take it.
And this is you as the Monkey King.
That's me swinging on a vine.
Did you submit that one? Was that your submission?
I don't remember that I wrote that one. No, I think I gave that to Dan Dillon, who also does just a tiny bit of work.
Oh,
for,
Dan Dillon.
Yeah.
I know I recognize a lot of these names. That's
That's right.
credit.
James Introcaso and James Hake, who I think both did some city book, I heard. Or,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
about that.
Small release.
Freelancers on the
Our fr-
Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
Yeah, and of course also designers in the Creature Codex stable. They did a bunch of good monsters.
Nice. Is that how you do it when you're obviously you're getting the submissions from the backers, but then do you just hire on people and be like, here, do whatever you need to do, or do you sign like, hey, these are the concepts, and then flesh them out?
Oh, it was some of both. A lot of it was concepts, like, okay, we need the Monkey King, we need Animal Lords, we need things to support the Animal Lords. But in every single case, if I'm going to someone like James Hake or Introcaso or whoever, Dan Dillon, I'm not just going to say, well, Dan, you have to do these 12 and nothing else. I don't want to hear from you, right? Paint in the lines, nothing else. Yeah, that's not going to happen. And every single one of those, there was, well, here's 12. If some of them don't resonate with you at all, ditch it. Pitch me something better.
Yeah.
And a number of the designers said, yeah, I like 10 out of 12, and here's my 2 that I absolutely want to write. Or, here's 50, and here's 3 I want to write. So it's a mix.
That's cool. I like that because, you let people's creativity flow.
Oh, yeah.
Want it to, but then sometimes you need a prompt.
You
Sometimes
see it
need
in the
something.
backer monsters, too, right? Some of them are crazy. The Demon Maw Hydra is a legendary beast, or it has legendary actions. The Shark Bowl Ooze.
Shark Bowl Ooze?
See, that
Yeah.
sounds like one from a kid.
Yeah, see, Ooze, Shark Bowl.
Yes.
Oh,
Giant,
okay.
Yeah.
It's Dr. Evil all over, right?
Ooh, lots of oozes.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Oh, so there's a shark inside the ooze, which looks like a bowl.
Yes.
And I got that just from glancing at the art. So kudos to the
Oh, yeah.
artist.
Giant shark.
And if the words wizard experiment do not appear in this description, we've done something wrong. But this is just the kind of stuff that
Again, they're making fun of the spellcasters.
I don't know
Yes,
what's
Shelley.
going on here.
we're mocking them.
The giant shark bowl doesn't require sleep.
No.
No.
It doesn't.
No. But the shark inside, though, does.
That's an important element of its lore and history.
I do not want to be attacked by this giant shark bowl ooze.
Well, that's going to happen now. Totally going to attack Shelley. Or more her character, more
More
rightly.
importantly.
Yes.
Let's hope so.
Because
Got
getting
endless
that much
appetite.
gelatin and a shark into the wizard's offices is more difficult.
I'm gonna see it.
Well, but
in the
now
parking
that
lot.
feels like a challenge, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
April.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah. So Megan, when you get like all of these things that come in, how are there ones that you're like, oh, this one's mostly done, I just need to change the apostrophe, or are there ones where you're like, okay, this is going to take way more, or does it end up being like you spend around the same time on each one?
No, it's a mixture of both. There's some that come in like just straight up just really, really good. And that's just from any designers, right? Some designers kind of go overboard. Some designers don't give us quite enough. I know there was one creature where we went and we're like, hey, this just isn't really working out. I mean, the concept was really, really strong, but the execution wasn't done as well. So we took it back to the designer. We're like, hey, it's not really working out for us. What can you do? The designer ran with that, completely redesigned the creature, and now the final creature, the redesigned creature, which I believe is much stronger. Not necessarily power level, but just a stronger concept, a much better, more realized concept of a creature is now fully in the book. Whereas the original concept probably wasn't as strong. Or the concept was strong, but the execution wasn't. And then there's others that I don't have to do much to at all. And that's usually the smaller creatures. Their mechanics aren't quite as complicated. When the mechanics start getting more complicated, then you have to think of how players would interact with this or how DMs would realistically use it. And all of those factors have to come into play. And when you're designing, like, should this be, 3 times a day or 2 times a day, and little things like that. So
Right.
Yeah, we do have like CR 1/8, CR 1/4.
Yeah.
We have a lot of those, and a bunch of them. I liked one thing you suggested several times, which was, could this be a familiar?
right.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's like, wow, it's a flying cat, or it's a, what was the dinosaur one? Oh, Compsog Mathis?
Yeah, that ended up being in the other.
That I wound up being somewhere else. We had
Yeah.
to cut that one.
That's the problem when you got so many monsters. You're like, oh,
Well,
It's your Codex.
But yeah,
too.
we had
Yeah.
a bunch of smaller creatures that were relatively low CR, and it's like, well, I mean, me personally, I know my players, and I know if my players see something cute and adorable, they're going to want to keep it, not kill it.
For sure.
So then, it's fun to have small
See,
ways
we're
that
not
you can
always
allow it.
hostile to spellcasters. We're giving them new familiars.
Right? Like the Leonino, it's
And
a
you're
little
gonna
cute
kill
little
it right in
cat.
front of them.
Well,
That
That
keep
happens
flying.
to familiars all the time.
It speaks the different Dungeon Master styles out there. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like that you guys mostly keep to like one monster per page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Of course,
exceptions
like
are
the-
like dragons, demon lords,
Yeah.
some of the legendary stuff. The liches. We did 2 new liches.
So do you do
Yes.
that through, just straight up word count, or are you just like, okay, yeah, you must give me, 400 page or 400 words, and that's it?
yeah, word count goes into a lot of it to make sure that, and there's some creatures that were about 2 pages, and we're like, you know what, this creature doesn't really need to be 2 pages worth of text, so we had to cut it down. What?
Look at page 317. Razor leaf. I like his expression. Like he just got caught coming out of the shower. Omar, would you like to see razor leaf?
Did I leave the
Ruh-roh.
Did I leave the oven on?
What are you doing here?
Well, I mean, the art
I'm
is...
conditioning my hair.
That almost looks like the beginning of Alice in Wonderland when in the Disney version when she's like talking to the
caterpillar.
the flowers.
Or, the flowers, yes.
Right, all the different flowers. That face reminds me of one of the flowers.
There's a few plant types in here.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
The alliomite is a cute one, sort of
Oh,
a
yes.
fey plant toward the front. I think the art looks very Tony DiTerlizzi.
Nice.
Yeah, the Alamite is page 13.
Page. Oh, do you have notes? I
Whoa.
love that you have a
Well,
cheat sheet.
Well, my notes were for ones that I particularly liked.
And
So-
the alumite was one of them.
Yes.
Elp.
Alumite.
Cute.
Yes.
Oh,
Alumni. Ooh,
kind of looks like Groot.
It does
It-
kind of look like Groot.
It was one of the I
Friend
think
of Groot.
one of the early backer monsters that kind of all the judges latched onto. They're like, isn't that just such a, forgive the pun, but it's an idea that's full of flavor to have onion people.
Yeah.
So it was a fun little neat idea, and it was well executed. So we're like, yeah, sure.
Oh, this is so when you're walking through a field or something like that, and you see those blades of,
Yes.
of onion.
Mhm.
This is what's underneath them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
it's
sense.
low CR, and it fits into like goblin-y, fey, whimsical, except full of stench bombs.
And it makes every meal better. Really.
Yes, really. The flavor pairs with everything.
It brings
Yeah.
out the soup.
You win the fight, and then you have something to eat after.
Oh
Well,
my
and
God.
the fun thing about it too is that they're not necessarily evil. They just have their agenda. So it's something you could realistically throw at players that, farmers are asking for help because they're having these issues. Then the players come across it and they think, okay, we just got to go kill something. It's like, well, no, actually, it's a people, right? So
Right.
now we got to figure out a way to balance between the farmers and
We
the,
are the onion people.
right.
I love that.
Is this a heart in his mouth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the Amut is an old Egyptian figure, which I thought we did in Toma Beast, but it turned out we didn't. And so I'm like, well,
It's kind of like a turducken.
yeah, it's the thing that eats your
Or
heart
like
in the
a hippo
afterlife.
lion alligator heart eater.
Hippo, lion,
Put them all in there.
yes. After the Egyptians weigh your spirit in the balance, right? A feather in one side of the scale and your heart in the other. If you fall on the wrong side of that, it gets to eat your heart.
Okay.
That's fair.
Totally.
And it's tasty.
yeah.
It's sort of
They got to eat.
the worst sort of afterlife soul-eating crocodile demon.
Yeah.
And eat souls.
It's
That's good.
nightmarish.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the art work for this? Like, who did the art orders and
Well, that was all Mark Radel. He's the art director for Kobold Press. He got,
for all of these monsters?
yes, for all of these. And, of course, the list of art credits is like 30 people long, and there are Magic the Gathering artists on there and Hearthstone artists and people who've been doing art for Kobold Press for years and a few new ones.
Good.
And he had to assign and check the sketches and, correct all the art when it didn't match the description or wasn't interesting enough in one way or another.
So he had to go back to he was working with all of these individual artists on each of these pieces. Wow, that's a big job.
And so it was commissioned over many months. And like all the art then, of course, appears on the pawns. It's in the book. And we wanted it all to be the kind of art that you want to go, hey, it looks like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Right? Not just, this is sort of a field guide, kind of boring, standing there. piece. And the artist really came through for us. I have to say the color is really great. Some of them are just way more terrifying than they have any right to be. And there's moments of cuteness too, right? It's not all super dark and horrible. Like this Fey Drake is kind of a cool one.
The Fey Drake is very cool. I do like the artwork again. I think my girl would love that because she's into all things fantasy and butterflies. But this bathhouse Drake,
Yeah,
it's
another
very
one of the
confusing.
ones I really like.
Yeah.
Well, I like it because it felt very Miyazaki, right? So if you like Studio Ghibli films, it feels like that because it's very much like it's a bathhouse, right? It runs a bathhouse. Its lair is actually this spa that you can go to kind of thing. So it becomes this more like wise figure that you can come across.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a really interesting concept.
It is a cool concept because you're like, what kind of business would a dragon have?
Right.
Right? And like, oh yeah,
A
a bathhouse.
bathhouse.
Yeah. Seems perfect.
it can
Right.
keep the waters warm. It
Yeah.
can, spa-like steam.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if dragons are known for one thing, it's treating themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Decadence.
They
They appreciate.
they like to luxuriate,
And have you seen the rates that spas charge these days? It's a steady income stream.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And it all goes to the drakes of the world from Canada. Wait, no, that's not true. They like really big sweaters.
Yeah.
So yeah, tons of fun stuff in here, and I like that. There's well, like with any monster heavy D&D book, it's like each one of them tells a story. Like immediately, you want to be like, oh, how could I, get into this and use this in my game and get this? And sometimes they're just like, oh, little distractions. But there's a lot of stuff in here that you almost want to build entire campaigns around,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
such as the Midgard setting.
Well, there are some. It's not a Midgard book, right? There's no Midgard logo on this. It's not specific to the Kobold Press setting. But there are sidebars, I
Yeah.
don't know, for a couple dozen of these, like the ones that are really just ripped directly from the Midgard
Right.
setting.
Yeah.
We felt it was kind of doing them a disservice not to say, well, this originally came from Midgard, and if you happen to be playing in that campaign world, then here's what you need to know. So for a couple of the blood mages and some of the void stuff where there are specific spells in the Midgard Heroes Handbook, something like that,
Yeah.
we offer the straight-up list, spell list for the caster out of Player's Handbook, and then we offer an alternate spell list if you have access to things like the blood magic list or the void magic list from your Midgard books.
Right. That makes total sense.
Yeah, we didn't want to make it compulsory, but
Yeah.
if
We wanted
you,
it to be accessible.
yeah,
I
So-
dig that. I dig that a lot. And I don't know if you guys can smell it over the microphones, but it smells really good in here.
It does. It
smells like new
new
book.
books.
new book smell. Oh my God! Before I
Oh, the
forget,
Servant of the
wait,
Vine.
I brought the mysterious box.
Yeah, I
haven't-
saw that over
Yeah,
there.
well, I'm gonna.
You were pulling like a J.J. Abrams thing where there was a box and you weren't going to tell us what was in it.
I wasn't gonna see. I don't know if Shelley can see that. All right,
I saw the
These are
logo
for you too.
on Twitter. Somebody threw those at us. Nice. Are these actual
Oh,
stickers?
These are
nice.
actual
Way.
stickers.
That's
No
so
way, no
great.
way.
Yes.
This is
So we discussed it last year.
So it says Toma Beasts 2 Electric Beastaloo.
this is so good.
That's
These
right.
stickers went out to our Kickstarter backers.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yay.
And we
Yeah.
have like 50 more. We should just leave them around here in the
Sweet.
offices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
we will paste them everywhere we can. Stickers are where it's at.
We
And
had
we
Definitely.
loved that you guys came in and that's so good.
That is awesome.
That's part of the fun of things like Kickstarters. You can do like. you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Yes. Was this a fan that said this, or was it you?
I think it was on the stream
think
here.
so,
It
too.
was
Yeah.
a stream comment on this
Yeah.
show,
See?
and I was like, "That's hilarious,"
And it must
Electric
occur.
Beastaloo.
and it must occur. And of course, Mark said, "Well, I can whip up a logo if you want." And I'm like, "Would you please make it look like the '80s?" And he did.
And he
Yeah.
did.
And then I said, well, or some backer said, "So is that the real title?" And I was like, "No." But we're going to give you something. If you want to paste this on the front of your book, you can.
You can if you
Cover
want.
over the real title.
Has anyone ever done it with the collector's edition cover there?
I haven't seen any pictures of it yet, but
No, I think the collectors, it's too nice.
It is too nice,
it
right?
is.
Yeah,
But-
that's the thing with the book plates. You know, we can put it on the inside at the very least, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
put it there.
Oh yeah, good idea.
So yeah, that's
That's
where
awesome.
we're at. We've got another project coming down the pike in the not too distant future. We're going to go visit Baba Yaga for a while.
She's pretty cool, I hear. She's got a really cool place.
Uh,
Oh, she's in there.
Good
Walks
this time
around
of
on
year.
chicken
yeah,
legs.
her stats
She's
are in
here?
the Creature Codex,
Nice.
And
Under
we're-
Baba or Yaga? Oh,
you know, look at- there she
There
is.
she is.
and her dentures.
I
her-
think
her
D&D
INT.
statted her up at one point, too.
Yes, like in first edition.
So we should have the two of the versions fight each other.
Compare.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is the one
Which
true
reigns supreme.
Baba Yaga?
Well, that sounds like a Halloween episode or something to do on the stream.
Freddy versus Jason.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
a
the
great
iron.
idea.
Oh, she got a 2-page spread. I
We
don't
should
know.
totally do that.
I just feel like this, like, kindred connection to her. I don't know.
And you're the one who's saying, like, why are all spellcasters get this bad rap?
No, like, I'm just like, I kind of feel like nobody understands you. You probably just want 5 minutes alone. My God.
She understands you.
She needs to get with the Servant of the Vine over here.
Uh-huh.
Because that's a good monster, right?
Yes.
that mean you have
the Servant
iron
of the
teeth?
Vine is the happy elf who it's
Who
the Jim
drinks a lot.
Morrison elf. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Or there's a bar brawl.
There is.
Oh,
The
yeah,
bar
that's a
brawl
fun one.
was it a backer submission? I think it
It
was.
was, yeah.
And it was like all the judges went,
Another
"Oh yeah, that
minotaur."
would simplify my life tremendously."
Yes.
Instead of like running 15 NPCs, why don't you make it one set of stats?
Oh, that's so smart.
and then the
Oh,
brawl is like
yeah.
one thing for me to track, and I can just be, throws a chair. It's
That's a really good idea.
well, yeah, we thought so. So we,
Street
you gotta
fight.
get that backer on your
I know.
pay list.
I'm hoping some of these backers show up like in future saying, well, here's a query. Remember me from Creature Codex? Well, here's my next project.
And it'll be like, no. And you're like, but bar brawl. And you're like, oh, I remember that. Yes.
The
You're Mr.
Liquid
Barbara.
Courage. That's awesome.
Liquid
Yeah.
Courage is
As a
in there.
bonus action, the bar brawl imbibes nearby alcohol to gain access to a hidden reservoir of audacity and grit.
Mhm.
This seems like your monster, Shelley.
I kind of am into them. Yeah.
Yeah, my other favorite one is the weasel that hunts dragons.
Oh. That can't end well.
Ichneumon.
Yes.
ICHN.
Oh.
It is page 224.
224.
My other favorite part about it is the subtlety in the art, because
Yeah.
the shadow of a dragon is above it.
Well,
That's cool. I see it now.
Yeah.
I didn't see
It's-
it.
it's
like
really-
this is like Mongoose
oh,
Cobra.
Yeah.
It's Mongoose Cobra,
Yeah.
except it I
He's
think it
pretty
goes back
vicious.
to medieval bestiaries. That's why the name's weird. The Ichneumon is sort of a Latinate name,
Mm.
but apparently medieval monks all were convinced the way to kill a dragon was to find an Ichneumon first.
Yep.
That's easy.
Yeah, of course.
It will weasel its way into the dragon lair. Take care of your problem.
Take care of your problems.
It's
Can't
it's
go
one
wrong.
of
Good
my favorite
exterminator.
pieces to show the subtlety in a lot of the art, because the dragon shadow
Yeah. It's so
is,
good.
is there. And then we've got a few other creatures where if you look closely at the art, it's very subtle, just showing what the creature actually is and does kind of in the background or whatever.
Mm.
All right, how do you pronounce this name, the one next to it?
Ijarok.
Oh, the
I just
Ijarok.
spell it correctly. I have no
Ijarok?
idea.
Just make sure the letters
That's
are
one of the
organized
problems of
correctly.
fantasy when you
Right.
say things out loud for the first time. You're like, is this right?
Look at her
No.
mouth.
That actually was something
I know.
I
The upside down.
Oh,
right?
We had a couple
Oh.
monsters
like
where
that.
we wanted to change
Dentata.
up the name, right?
Yeah, we did have to change a few names because when you said it out loud, you're like, that's gonna. No, I know what people are gonna do with that.
Mhm.
I game with people around a table. That is
Yes.
not a good one.
I had a dungeon master. You guys kind of mentioned a little bit with the void and other things, but like there was a magic that was, you felt the taint inside you, and yeah.
The table said,
Yeah.
Oh, taint good old taint magic. I'm gonna cast taint magic on myself right now.
and like the whole seriousness of the moment was gone.
Exactly, and he's like, I hate
You're
players.
being corrupted by a vile and evil force. No, it's over. Give it up.
Yeah.
That's why it should have been perineum magic. And then,
Sure, a Latin word never gets mocked.
yeah, exactly. My perineum.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's another one. The Gorline I also really like.
Oh,
So we have
207 is very gross.
we have like 3 different creatures that are kind of the junk creatures.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we've got the junk shaman. Obviously, he uses junk around the city.
Oh, God.
The Gorline is kind of like, what does a necromancer do with leftover parts, like fingers and hands and feet? Okay, well, he turns it into a little creature that
A Gorling.
A pile of hands.
then, right? And then when you attack it, it then just becomes more of itself.
And I like that there's a variant. There's a rotten version.
If it's not gross enough, if it's not fresh anymore,
Right.
the gorling's gone off. So it's
Gooey
oozing
black and green.
What I like about what you guys did with getting the art orders and stuff in here, and obviously the mechanics, I assume, all work.
Yeah, we think so.
Phew, okay, good. You were playtesting it
We
quite a bit.
had a lot of
did.
playtesters, yes.
But it's got that visceral connection immediately just from the art of it. And I'm going to tell a little quick story. This morning, I threw away my garbage into the composting machine, like you're in a composting bin, like you do here in Seattle. And there was all maggots in there this morning.
Where?
In my house. Well, not in my house, but like, in the alley as I threw away the stuff. I was like, there's
somebody
maggots.
throwing away meat in the
Somebody must
compost?
have done it when I wasn't watching. I don't know. But I can't get that image out of my head. There's something so, like, just viscerally
Vile.
Are you
about.
inspired?
No, I'm not inspired, but I'm looking. Yeah, maybe.
Probably for the
Gross.
best.
If you want to
Maggot golem.
if you want a flashback, you can go to the Pleresh demon. So it's under
yeah.
demon Pleresh. That's a Dan Dillon creation, I believe. It's a little worm swarm demon.
Damn, Daniel.
It's always the nice ones.
Yeah, he's such a friendly, well-spoken guy, and then
Yeah.
you dredge through his
Oh, yeah.
imagination.
There's
for-
your compost bin right there.
yeah, see, there
Page
it is.
89.
89.
The colors are
I
nice,
don't want to
though.
see it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. See,
It's
just
pretty
like
good.
this morning.
Just like this morning. Yeah.
There's no reason the demon can't be a wriggling mass of maggoty worms.
Right?
And usually they are. That's what
That's how they work.
Yeah, it's
There's a
Gross.
wind demon a couple pages on, which is really the fart demon. But
oh,
too
Show that
classy
one to
to,
yes.
The wind demon?
Yes.
Yeah, look
saw-
at the green gas.
And I know when you see it, you both immediately said to yourself, well, that's Dante, right? That's Canto 21 of the Inferno, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Where the demons
Did
fart.
I say that out loud?
Yeah, I mean, your class.
Get out of my head, Wolf.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, no one's going to get that reference, but, clearly that's what we were thinking.
Clearly, that's what the fart demon
That's
was
my
all about.
story. And
Yeah, this kind of looks like you a little bit, Shelley.
Oh, wow.
I see the similarity. Again, a kindred connection.
Oh,
We had fun
Feel
with
you,
the
wind
demons.
demon.
I feel you.
Are you also on Weight Watchers?
Oh my gosh, there's so many points that this person is not consuming.
Do you eat a can of black beans for lunch every day, too?
I guess I
Cabbage
do.
is 0 points for cabbage, man.
I'm gonna fly away. Oh my god, that's so fun. See, so I just love, this was, going back to what I said about just having the art be really evocative, and then people flipping through and hopefully be inspired by it. I hope that's what people are doing right now when they get this book delivered to them.
Oh, yeah. It was a fun challenge with Mark because he's like, no, the art needs to be bigger. We're like, but there's words, Mark. He's like, no, art needs to be bigger. We don't need words.
The classic
But-
yeah.
showdown
he has
between
a-
editor and art
always.
director.
But he has a good point, right? Like when people flip through the book,
More
they're immediately just gonna look. Hey, they're gonna flip through the book. That's a cool looking creature, and then they're gonna read it,
Right.
right? So if the art's too small or not noticeable, then the people are just gonna flip right past the creature and never give it a second glance. So
I have to admit, there are creatures still from first edition D&D that I kind of forget about because they weren't illustrated in the
Right.
monster manual of the time, or the illustration was so bad I would just like, no, I'm skipping it.
right, like,
Right.
and I still to this day, to me, a goblin is the second edition monster manual goblin. Like it doesn't matter what any art that people do in the future of the goblin, I will always see that second edition goblin.
Yep,
His
that's
little
cool.
shield and his red tunic.
Imprinted on it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It almost has like this magazine-like quality where you just want to
Right.
like flip through and
Yep.
find the thing that catches your eye, and,
Exactly.
and then you're right, delve more into it.
Right.
Yeah. And then now they have almost 400 monsters to do that with now, which is pretty. Is there an illustrated for each one?
Yes.
There is. Wow. Which, yeah, and multiples, of course, for the dragons, right?
Yes.
Like the young
Right.
wormling up through ancients. And a couple others, like some of the minotaurs and the
Right.
the
The-
Kuyatl, the frog folk.
Yes.
Kuyatl.
Yes.
Yep.
We got a couple of those.
You said you had a couple things. All right, I've got a two-part question. One is you said you have other things coming down the pike.
Oh, yeah, the Baba Yaga thing.
And does it bother you when people say pipe? Because I interchange them. Coming down the pipe and coming down the
Probably
pike.
bothers Megan. the editor.
No, I just sort of flash on Mario, right? Something's clearly coming through the pipe works.
Yeah, exactly. Or the wind demon.
Or the wind demon. So, yeah, well, I mean, we're ready. We're kind of done with this Kickstarter. It's out in the world. Fly and be free. So it's time for us to move on to the next one, which is Tales of the Old Margrave. It's forest adventures. with
that sounds
Baba
fun.
Yaga. So the deep dark forest, what could go wrong
Forest
there?
Adventures with Baba Yaga.
Everyone's
A children's
favorite.
adventure.
Hansel and Gretel. Ended well for everyone involved.
Yummy
Right.
candy.
Yummy candy.
There will be little huts. There will be forest paths.
They might walk around on chicken legs.
Uh-huh. So we're going to do some of that with just a little Baba Yaga. I don't want to oversell the Baba Yaga part because, once you meet her, I'm sure she's a nice lady.
Yeah, continue that sentence.
But not everybody wants to visit, right?
Right.
Some people get scared
Some people
and run away.
Yeah. But
So
then
misunderstood.
Baba Yaga will just embrace, bring them in and eat them.
that's
We'll
what
have you
mortar
for
and
dinner.
Yes.
have
Come
you
for
noticed
dinner.
the mortar and pestle she flies around in? That's like big enough to put like, I don't know,
Humans.
bodies in. Yeah.
Bones aren't going to
Sure
crush
it's
themselves.
Oh, good. Well, you're aware then.
Yes. I've used a mortar and pestle.
She's like, I don't know why that this monster speaks to me.
I don't know.
hmm
Just
Yeah,
she's
that's the one.
misunderstood.
That's
So-
exciting. So
Poor
is that going to be
grandma.
an adventure or is it going to be a?
It is both, right? It is 10 adventures at the
10.
moment.
10?
Well, maybe more. Depends on how the Kickstarter goes. 10
'cause
short.
there's stretch
10 was a lot.
goals
Yes,
involved.
all of that. It's always a mystery. New player races, a little more detail for the bear folk. New druid options. We're talking to, oh man, I'm going to show my age here. Dennis Sester, who was the guy who wrote the Druid like in 1976.
Oh wow.
We found him and we said, Dennis, would you write some Druid stuff for us? And he said, yeah, maybe, sure, yes.
So is he the person who like had the different circles of druid or like the
think
the
that-
ranks? Then you had to kill the
I think
one
that
that was
dates
ahead of you. And that
back
was
to
the
him.
only way you can level up.
Yeah, you got to go back to the original publication, which is in one of the little booklets, like book 4.
Okay.
But yeah, we said, what the heck?
I
Let's
love
go
that.
back to one of the founders of the hobby and ask him, so what would you do with newfangled Druid stuff? And he told us. So
it's something he had been thinking about.
He's like, I've been thinking about this for 30 years.
I
Ask
don't
me
know.
this.
I think that certain people have topics they love, right? Like if you ask me about ghouls or you ask Megan about drakes, we're going to have opinions, right? And if you ask Dennis about druids, he's going to tell you, right? It's like, well, yes. He didn't even like hesitate. He was just like, well,
like, I'm
5th
in.
edition? Yeah, I've played some of that. Sure.
Done and done.
Nice.
You
So-
excited to edit the crap out of that?
I am always excited to edit the crap out of everything.
Nice. Is it going to
Take
be
those
this
words.
many pages? Hopefully not. It won't be as many.
It will be less pages. It's in 2 volumes. There's a Game Master book and a player book.
Oh, okay. So 2 books. That's
So
not
2
that hard
books.
for you to
and
to
one
edit
book
then.
is actually not Megan's book, and the other book is probably Megan's books. We'll see how that works out.
Sweet. You didn't just suddenly get 2 books of work thrown at you at once.
Simultaneously is hard.
It is very
Yes.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're speaking to the team. Well, not us, but the other members of the
We
team who
see-
basically just
we
did
see
that
other people
in the last
doing
month.
that.
2 books out in.
Yes. I don't know how you did that. There had to be
No.
2 whole separate teams in separate buildings.
You'd
right?
think.
You
But
would-
no, it's the same team.
It was.
It's like, am I in Waterdeep A or Waterdeep B? I can't remember.
Or are we in Ravnica? All
Or
at the same
Ravnica.
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And Eberron. You guys have been busy.
There's a lot. There's a lot coming down the pipe.
Here we go again. Down the pike, the turnpike, the
Just
road.
say coming up.
Coming up down the pike,
There's a lot coming up.
coming around the corner is this
She'll
Baba
be
Yaga
coming
pipe.
around the mountain.
So the alternate cover.
Yes.
How do people get that?
I'm gonna show- This one you had
that-
to pledge on the Kickstarter.
Okay, that's for the Kickstarter.
We have like maybe 10 extra that we'll either give to charity auctions or put on the Kobold Press store someday if we have like 1 or 2 spare. But yeah,
Well,
no.
this is a beautiful cover too.
It
Yeah, I was
is.
going to say, the art is gorgeous
That's
on that.
Craig Spearing. He does a lot of Magic the Gathering cards for you folks.
Mm.
He is a talented person,
Yep.
Yeah.
and he loves his undead, and you can totally
You
tell
can tell.
from that cover. That's the Hierophant Lich on the cover, as a matter
Yep.
of fact, which I wrote. And
You did.
I said there should be a way to terrify players with liches before they're like level 15 or 20.
There should be.
Right, there totally should. So I said, let's make a Hierophant Lich, and let's make it like CR 9. We bounced around on that CR.
I think he's around 9.
Maybe he's a 10.
And it's just like a lesser lich?
It's a lesser lich, except it's more a
Lesser lich.
divine lich instead of a wizardly lich.
Mm.
Because, you know, you need a shortcut. If you're not going to be an arcane spellcaster making your own phylactery, you need a dark god basically saying, your work isn't done yet. Keep it up. I will make you a lich. And
Is
you
that
will
your job on this project?
Yeah, pretty much.
Done yet.
I am the dark god of the creature codex.
There's 100 more monsters coming in this book.
More. Sean Merwin. More.
More.
Mark Radel. We need more art. Megan,
Make it so.
make it happen. Yeah, wow.
must
I could
create-
really, I could be into that. Sure. Give me some liches and some killer art directors and butt-kicking editors, and we can do, you know, another one of these in 2 years.
That's how it works.
That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah. Well, it looks good. I really love.
beautiful.
I'm excited that people are not getting it in their hands, and you really already listed all the ways for people to potentially buy it.
But when
Right.
will it be in stores?
It will
Soon?
be
Now-ish.
in stores
Now-ish?
pretty much now-ish.
Okay.
It's like on trucks around the country. We sent some to Canada. It's going places.
Wow.
This is in Canada too.
World.
Yes,
Whoa.
I know. We love our Canadian friends.
You're going all international.
We are this time.
Let's say we have a lot of Canadian designers too.
Yeah, we do. John Sawatsky, for one.
Mm-hmm.
He's Canadian. He'll admit
Yeah,
to
that
it.
makes Microsoft Word really
Did you just out
interesting.
him?
Oh,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
we outed him as Canadian.
But were we not supposed to?
No, I think he
Okay.
just posted on the interwebs about his attendance at
Sask Expo, I think.
Sask Expo, which is, as you might think, in
In Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. So, you know,
Yes. Only Canadians go to that.
Americans don't go to Saskatchewan. I'm sorry. It's just not a tourist destination for most of us.
But that's because it's the inspiration of a lot of these monsters is in Saskatchewan.
The Wendigo, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And the King Kobold.
And the Wind Demon.
Because all they have is beans there. Makes perfect sense.
Wow.
Well, how can people get in touch with you personally, as well as if they wanted to just follow what everything is going on?
We're all over the interwebs. So there's koboldpress.com. I'm personally at Monkey King on Twitter.
I am at GM Moonwolf on Twitter.
And as always, throw a whole bunch of editing questions
Yes,
to Megan.
That's her
Sure.
favorite.
Yeah,
Grammar
exactly.
questions.
How can I be an editor? I don't remember last time you were here. We are definitely talking
Yes.
more about like what that means in the RPG industry, but we need more of them so desperately.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's a talent.
take them
Oh,
under
yeah.
your wing. Let eagles fly. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I would have been nearly as successful without all our playtesters, though. Like
They're
they provided a
important, too.
lot of good feedback.
Huge
sure.
shout out to the playtesters and Ben
Oh, yeah.
McFarland for coordinating them.
Yes.
The guy.
That
And
is
it's
huge.
actually very nice that you do give a shout out
Oh,
to
yeah.
your
Oh, yeah.
playtesters. They're all listed here.
There will come a day
Would you like
when
to
there's
actually
too
shout
many.
them out right now?
We could close out the show with a fine 30-minute
Jeremy
reading.
Cooper,
It's like the
Now
end
the-
of
Katie Eklund.
the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, where they list everybody who's in the Tolkien Society, and it just goes on
It
for
just
like
goes on.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like that.
No,
And
they
we-
did an excellent job. It was really nice having their input because we had a few creatures that I want to say like at least 3 that completely changed
Yes.
because of playtest feedback.
Right.
That is cool.
Oh,
With-
these are their playtest names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of them
They're
had
group
groups,
names.
yeah.
They had group
Okay,
names.
That's what I'm saying. I like this one. We don't have a cool name yet, D&D. Actually, you do have a cool
Oh
name.
man, there are lots of really cool names on here,
Wizard
like
rolled a one.
the Dice Jockeys.
Oh, very
I
good.
like the
Good
dice
stuff. The
jockeys.
Barons 4. The Bone People.
See? Fellow undead aficionados.
Exactly.
The Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Friends of Droop. Oh, yeah. I wonder who Droop is.
Glory Hounds. I like that.
Yeah, I saw that one too. I dig that. I wonder if they had a makeup because that was at an entry when they're playtesting was like, what's your group name?
Well-
They could list a name or just their individual names. So a lot of them playtested as the whole group. And so they wanted the whole group either as the group or the group with each of their individual names. Because some people don't necessarily want to give their last names and things like that. So
yeah. I like that. I
Yeah.
wonder how many of those names came up just for that forum. That's what I want. That's what I want to know. Like,
I
yeah.
don't know.
I mean, we had people of all ages. Sometimes people didn't want to put their children's names down or whatever. Some people just want to be anonymous because they're, whatever, members of the U.S. Senate.
You had numbers of the U.S. Senate as playtesters?
I can't
I don't
confirm
know.
or deny.
I knew it was going to be hard.
I didn't really get to see much of the names. I just saw the feedback from them. So
That's smart.
No, they're wonderful. They did a great job, and they wrote
Yes.
up reports on like an amazing number of monsters. So
it's just amazing how I mean, beforehand I always knew playtest was important, but this experience really let me know that playtest actually is very important.
Yeah.
Like even a little bit of feedback, like it's cool, but I wouldn't use it. I'm like, okay, why wouldn't you use it, right? Like if you're not going to use this creature, then we shouldn't be including it in the book, right? So there were a lot of like even the littlest feedback, and then some people gave us like detailed like round by round reports of combat with these creatures, and so it was really helpful. Like all playtest feedback was really nice.
That's super cool. And did you just receive that like as it was coming in, or did you get it in batches?
I got it in batches,
That's cool.
so
Wasn't like a distraction type thing. It was more of
Correct,
like,
yeah.
okay, now's the time to review this. And
Right.
then would you take that and then make changes? Or would you take that and go to the designer? Like, how did that process work? We're back in the interview all of a sudden. By the
yeah.
way. I don't know how
It's
that
all right.
happened.
Sorry.
Yeah, right. No, so for that, it depended on the creature and on the playtest. So some of the playtest feedback we got a little bit later, so then I had to make a lot of those changes. There was one creature we had to completely redo, I think like 2 or 3 different times. We sent it back to the designer. We sent it back to another round of playtesting, and the playtester still didn't like it, and it just wasn't working out for him. So then we had to completely redesign the creature. But at that point, it was really late in the process. So we're like, okay, well, I've got to do it because we don't really have time to go back and forth with the designer or anything like that on it. And then some of them were just like little tweaks. Small things like, hey, I don't think this is the correct CR. And it's like, yeah, okay, all right. So your CR 2 people couldn't handle a CR 10 thing, right? You know, little things like that, messing with some of the numbers. It was a bunch of different types of feedback.
But and it all kind of went through you and that process, right? Which
exactly, yeah. And so some of it went back to the designers, but most of it ended up being things that I had to end up changing, just because the playtest feedback came in a little bit later.
Yeah, that's super cool though, because that's like that's a huge part of this process.
Yes.
That it wouldn't work if you didn't have all that in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was really good to have all the feedback. I loved it.
How long was the playtest?
We did it in waves. So we did batches of creatures. I think the first packet went out March, maybe?
Yeah, it all happened
Something
pretty
like
fast.
March of this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, because the
It's
Kickstarter
only
ended.
September.
The Kickstarter ended in
January.
like the first week of January.
Okay.
We sent out the first batch like the first week of March.
Right.
And every month there was not like March,
think-
April, May.
I think so. I think it was every month we sent. So the playtesters,
About
and
100 a month.
kudos to them, the playtesters only had like 4 weeks to playtest the stuff and get back to us.
Right.
Very dedicated.
So, and they wrote up reports on, multiple monsters
Mm-hmm.
per group, and we just gave them as much as they would report back on, right?
Yep.
So,
Sweet.
yeah. No,
I love
we
it.
love it.
Oh, Chris Lockheed's on here too.
Oh, yeah, he
Yes.
wrote all the mythos monsters, the Lovecraftian kind of ones.
Oh,
There's
sweet.
a Night Gaunt and a Hound of Tindalos and the Flying Polyp you saw earlier
Oh.
in all its beauty.
Damn you, Chris Lockheed. That's so
Yeah,
creepy.
He did lots of creepiness. And I think he has a little adventure coming from Kobold Press this week called Black Sarcophagus.
That sounds happy.
Drink the red liquid, shall you?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like, well, yeah, all right, let's do that. It's a little PDF thing. And
That's cool.
yeah, it's
I wonder if more people should do that, like kind of take things that are in the cultural zeitgeist, and because we have digital publishing is so fast,
right?
we can actually turn that around and get it out there while it's still in the conversation.
Right.
Of course, we're talking about the black sarcophagus thing that was discovered in Egypt.
Yeah.
What, like over the summer, 2 months ago?
Yeah, it was about a month ago, maybe.
Wow.
And it just kept rattling around, and then
They
horrible
opened it-
cheese was discovered not long after that, right?
Oh, I didn't know about the
Some
cheese.
ancient moldy cheese in Egypt, a 5,000-year-old cheese.
Oh,
And so
yum.
people said, well, you've got a
It's
red liquid
aged
and
really
a
well.
cheese. What are we going to... Like, no, guys, just no.
Didn't someone drink the red liquid or
No.
something?
I hope not.
Yeah. So in the bottom of the black sarcophagus, there was this red, like almost bright red liquid. and they were trying to figure out what it came from and what it was.
I think the reason Chris Lockey decided to write about the Black Sarcophagus is back in the Tome of Beasts, he wrote a monster called Sarcophagus Slime, which you may remember because the picture is a black sarcophagus with red slime in it. Like, how did you know, Chris?
Weird.
You knew years ahead of time.
Those mummies, they totally stole my idea. That's what he's thinking.
That's what
sure.
he's thinking. Those
Yeah.
darn mummies. 4,000 years ago, they ripped him off.
Jerks.
Yep.
Mummies are jerks.
They are.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, it's true. And now everybody listening to this podcast knows that. Thank you, guys. Once we got more into talking about playtesting stuff, my eyes brightened up, and I wanted to learn more. So
We're recruiting you for the next playtest.
Yeah.
excellent.
You get your name.
Thanks for having us.
Get my name in there.
Get a special group name.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We will, I think we're going to close it down here. You and I got to do intros and outros after this, but we will
Yes,
do
we
that
do.
under the darkness of non-streaming. So thank you, everyone. We have...
You'll never know what we say about you now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Until you hear it in
Dun, dun,
podcast form. But let me give a quick bit to what's happening today and tomorrow here on the live streams, because there is stuff
So many
that
streams.
occurs. If only my thing could grow faster. All right, so yes, of course, we have Dark and Dicey tonight with Dungeon Master KG Tang. Last episode, there was a massive battle with zombies, soldiers, the party, and the crazy Aasimar paladin lady. Weapons were broken. Holy headbutts were landed.
Holy headbutt.
And in the end, everyone must flee. So that's all happening there. And then, of course, tomorrow we start with the Don't Split the Podcast Network plays through the Demon Plague. We're hosting that at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Then Idle Champions, Binwin, our friend and ally from PvP. Binwin will be playing Idle Champions there 12 to 1. And then we have Mike Merle's Happy Fun Hour at 1 p.m. At 2 p.m., we have some Dragon Plus talking to Alan Patrick. And, Chris Lindsay's going to record some Mert voiceover lines.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Chris, of course, played Mert, the moneylender, at the Stream of Many Eyes. And he's got a very thick and extremely accurate Scottish accent.
Excellent.
None of that is true. Then I'll be there at 3 p.m. for some D&D news before we have episode 110 of Dice Camera Action, which is crazy. And there's make sure you pay attention to that because we have some announcements coming at the beginning of that for some fun stuff. There's a contest that you might just be able to win. All right, that's everything that's going on here on the twitch.tv/DND channel. Thank you guys again for being here the last couple of hours, and we'll be back tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.